Hey guys, Clay here. We've got Rampage's TrailView Soft Top for your 21 and up 4-door Bronco, and I'm going to show you guys how to install it. For this installation, we're going to use a riv nut tool with 10mm capabilities. We're going to use a 3/8 drive, a 1/4 inch drive with a 1/4 inch extension, a T50 and a T30 star bit, a 4mm hex drive bit, and then a 6mm and a 3mm T-handle. Let's go ahead and get started. So now we're in the front driver's side section of the Bronco Sport Bar. We're right above that driver's seat. You can see you've got 3 holes here. We're going to put nutserts in these outer 2 holes to hold on the top bracket. You're going to need an M10 nutsert tool. There's a couple of different ways you can adjust this, but essentially what we're doing is putting this riv nut on here. And then once we crush this down, it's going to crush around this hole, and that is going to crush on the sheet metal, and that's what's going to stop this from spinning inside of here, and then we can put a fastener in there. Adjusting these is a little bit difficult and it takes a little bit of time. What you don't want to do is over crush it. And so what I do is start with this right flush with the end of this, and then I just start moving the handles and go, okay, so everything's working. This is going to crush how I want. And then if I push it where I want, I've noticed that these get better leverage when they're not all the way out like that and they're up a little bit. So I like to work with them. So then I'll take this, back this off, and then go all the way in with the handles. And that's how much I'm going to crush. And so that looks about right for what I'm trying to do here. And so we're going to start the process, and I'll show you how to make small adjustments as you go. But if you have this tool, it's pretty straightforward. I am going to put a little bit of RTV around this too. You're going to end up crushing some of the paint in here. This isn't something you absolutely have to do, it's just something I like to do. So again, we're in this front hole on the Sport Bar. You can tell it's kind of loose in there. I'm going to push that down and pull these handles in, keeping that centered, and you should feel it start to get tight and then go, okay, I'm crushing. So now those handles are fully locked. Once you loosen these up, you should be able to check. This tool should stand just like that. That should be tight in there, and this should mimic what the fastener is. So if you can't wiggle this around, you know you've got the fitting crushed around the sheet metal and it's staying where it needs to be. So we're just going to use this knob. We're going to pull this back out. The problem is if you over crush these, the threads start walking in there, and then sometimes you can't get a fastener back in there. If you do that, you can run a tap through it usually, and it'll still work. But once you feel it start getting tight, you can check it by how this thread engages. If you still need to crush it some more, what you would do is open this back up, spin this down a couple of threads at a time, and then once you get it set, you can do all the rest of the fittings, and it should go pretty quick. So now that we've got that one done, we'll just clean up a little bit of that RTV we got on there. So now we're going to do another one here, and then we're going to repeat this process on the passenger side. So now we're still on the driver's side, and we're right behind those 2 nutsert fittings we just put in. Our Bronco came with a hard top, so there's removable panels in the front, and they use this bracket for the latches that come with that. Your soft top's not going to have this bracket, but we need to remove this. There's our bracket, and we're just going to repeat this process on the passenger side. So now we're going to grab our roll bar extrusion. We're still on that driver's side. This plastic piece is going to go towards the back. We're going to set this right on here, and it should line up with one of those riv nuts that we installed in the sport cage. And then we're going to grab our TrailView base plate, and there's this little hook that's going to go towards the back. It should set towards the outside. You've got this tab and this tab. 2 holes and this little indentation here. This is what makes this the driver's side bracket. So we're just going to set that over our extrusion, line up our holes. I've got a little bit of anti-seize on this hardware. It's just going to help it not want to stick in there. If you do go to remove it, it should remove fairly easily without spinning that rib nut. So these first two holes are going to both get the M10 hardware, and then the holes that use the factory cage holes are going to get the M8. And so I'm just tightening this down until that lock washer crushes. You're not putting on lug nuts here, so it doesn't need to be super tight. It's just a bracket to hold this trail view section down. And then we'll install our M8 hardware. So now we're going to install that last M8 bolt. And we can repeat that process on the other side. So now we're on the driver's side rear corner of the tub of the Bronco, and we've got this tub corner bracket we're going to install. You can see there's a piece of foam to go into the body here. This is where the top is going to clip in. So we've just got some more M8 hardware. Put a little bit of anti-seize on that as well. We can go ahead and tighten this. Again, these aren't lug nuts, so we're just tightening it down until that split washer locks a little bit more. Should be good. And then we can repeat that process on the other side. So we're still on the driver's side, and we're going to install this tub rail bracket. Again, you can see the foam on the bottom. It's going to orient like this. Smaller tab towards the back. This middle-sized tab is closer towards the rear, and then you've got this large tab in the front. Now there is going to be one smaller M8 bolt, and that's for this specific spot right here. That's just so that it doesn't go down and crush the tub. Then there's just two more M8 bolts. They go one in the middle bracket and one in this front bracket. Now you'll see these slots in these brackets. Like I'm pulling this one in just so that it's tight up against here, and then lining it up with this back bracket. So there's a little bit of adjustment in this stuff. And as you go to install the top itself, if you need some adjustment in these brackets, just take note of where those ovals are. And we can repeat that process on the other side. So now we're back on the driver's side, and we're going to remove these three bolts out of this C-pillar panel. And we're going to install a provided panel right over this. So this is what makes the driver's side. You've got this round part at the top, and there's this channel that there's a flap on the soft top that we'll tuck in there. So we'll put that in place and reinstall that hardware. This is just a plastic panel, so again, you don't need to crush this stuff and over tighten it. Snug is good enough. And then we'll repeat that process on the other side. So now we've set our top out in the sun for a few hours just to make sure everything's warm. If it's real cold where you're at, you may want to be patient, set up a shop heater or something. You don't want to install this with it really cold because it's tight and it can't really give. But now that we've got this laid out, this is towards the front of the Bronco, and we've got the inside of the top facing up, and then now we're going to install our trail view assembly in the front of our soft top. And so we'll slide this up underneath this flap here, and we'll snap this in place, and then there's a couple of more Velcro flaps that we need to install. So now we've moved to the rear of the top, and we're going to install this rear bow. It's got a slight curve to it, and so you want it with the bow making like a U facing up. And we're just going to pull back this little flap, slide this piece in, and then we'll install the center bows. One of these is a little bit shorter than the other, and that shorter one is going to go towards the front or towards that trail view assembly we just installed. You're going to want the same thing as you do the rear bow. You want that curve to go down because that's what's going to push the top up. So now that we got that sorted out, we'll just install these. So now we've turned our top right side up and put it on the Bronco. then folded back this trail view section, so now we can see the trail view portion. So this little plastic piece is going to fold over into this channel. This is pretty much how the whole rest of the top is going to get assembled. You can see more of that under here, C-pillar, tub rail, everything. But we're just going to flip this over here, make sure we tuck it in. And then we'll repeat that process on the other side. So now this is that center bow that we installed. Make sure that the bow is going up, and we're going to put that into this little bracket here on both sides. Push it back in place. And then this straight bar is going to get attached to this tab with one of these little barrel bolts. It's like a shoulder bolt and then a locking nut. And so this locking nut is going to go on the outside of this right here. And it just captures it for you. And push that down. Push that nut out like that. And this has to hinge, so we're not looking to tighten this and clamp it on this. We just want it so it doesn't rattle around. And then we're going to repeat that process on the other side. So now we need to do that same thing with this other hinged piece. This is going to go towards this bracket in the front. So we're just rolling this forward, line that up, grab another one of those shoulder bolts. And then we'll repeat that process on the other side. So now we're at the driver's side rear of the top, and we're just going to undo this Velcro, pull the strap out. It's got an adjustment clip in it, and we're going to attach this clip underneath this rear corner piece that we put on. And then you can pull that tight. We're just going to line these Velcro straps up for now. As the top loosens up, this is your adjustment to keep everything tight in there, so we'll probably come back and adjust that once we get the rest of it installed. Make sure to repeat that process on the other side. So now we're gonna remove this Velcro, like flap from the back. Just pull it forward, and you'll see this zipper here. Now we've got our quarter window. Should be that shape. We're gonna get this zipper to line up with this zipper. And then we've got this buckle up here that we're going to feed this through. And I'm going to leave it loose for now. Like I said, once we get everything installed, we'll come back and we can tighten all this stuff up as we need to. And we'll repeat that process on the other side. So now we're at the rear part of the top still, and we've got our rear window in hand. We're going to put the Velcro on just to kind of hold it there. And what we're going to do is start with the center buckle, and we'll just feed our strap through. Do that same thing on the side buckle. And then there's two zippers along the side, and so I'm going to go ahead and start both the zippers, but we're only going to zip it about halfway down. So now we move back over to the driver's side quarter, and we're at that C-pillar panel we put on. We're just going to tuck this plastic edge in there, and then we're going to tuck this plastic edge along the tub rail. Now as we start tightening all these plastic pieces in place, you'll feel the top starting to take shape. And we're not going to do this corner piece yet. And we can repeat that process on the other side. So now we're at the tailgate, and this is the tailgate bar. This is going to get oriented when we're done like that. Tailgate will shut on this seal, keep all the water out. So we need to feed this tube through this thing on the back window here. And so now that we've got that in the right orientation, we'll just slip that over that. And that should push in those slots that we were just in. Now we can go ahead and finish our zippers. And then we can go ahead and put in this little corner piece here into this tub rail bracket. We'll repeat that process on the other side. So now we can tighten up all our straps. And as this top relaxes in the sun, you can come back here and tighten this stuff back up too, because you're probably going to need to do that as the top ages a little bit. And we'll just fold these flaps under here. I got one more over there I need to tighten up. And then we can fold this back. And attach the Velcro. So we're on the driver's side back by that C-pillar, and just like we installed this plastic piece, we're going to do the same thing here. And then we'll repeat that process on the other side. So now I'm in the driver's side front again. We're just going to go ahead and pull this trail view section forward. Now there's two latches, one on the passenger side. We got one over here on the driver's side. So this is where the OE soft top would latch to. You're probably going to have to pull down on this a little bit the first couple times you latch it. And just pop the latch in place. And there you go. Well, there you go, guys. This is a really easy install. Now you do need that riv nut tool, and make sure it's 10mm compatible. But this can totally be done in an hour and a half, 2 hours, and you don't need anybody's help. Now, if you guys have any questions at all, make sure to give us a call or visit us online. Thanks.